Hello, and welcome to the Racial Equity Commitment Preparation video. As part of your 2020 General Operating Support Goal Setting, your organization is expected to create a racial equity commitment. We hope that by creating this commitment, your organization will move towards becoming a more equitable organization. At Cuyahoga Arts and Culture, we value equity, specifically racial equity. As an organization, we're also working to become more equitable in all areas of our work. We hope that you will join us in the journey of making Cuyahoga County a more equitable place for all of its residents. The prompt for the racial equity commitment reads as follows: working to address the effects of white advantage and the power on people of color by shifting power, opportunities, access, and resources resulting in racial justice. In response to this prompt, you will be asked to make a commitment for 2020 and state how you will measure progress throughout the year. To better understand the prompt, we want to take some time to define what racial equity is and further explain some language from the prompt, specifically people of color, white advantage, and racial justice. Let's take a few minutes to define what equity is and what it's not. Equity is defined as the fair treatment, access, opportunity, and advancement for all people while at the same time striving to identify and eliminate barriers that have prevented the full participation of some groups. Equity is the separate, targeted treatment in order to meet the needs of those marginalized. Equity relates to strategies that are needed to impact institutional barriers. Equity is a process, a practice, and an outcome. Racial equity is defined as the condition that would be achieved if one's racial identity no longer predicted, in a statistical sense, how one fares. Racial equity involves proactive, targeted, and separate treatment and strategies that name racism and white supremacy explicitly, meets the needs of people of color, eliminate racial barriers and disparities, prioritize process and practice that build towards racial justice, and are not just about numerical or quantitative representation. Now let's talk about what equity is not. Diversity is not equity. Diversity is defined as the demographic mix of specific collection of people. To be a diverse organization simply means that you have the presence of a different identities throughout your organization. However, an organization can be diverse without being inclusive, and an organization can also be diverse without being equitable. Inclusion is not equity. Inclusion is defined as the degree to which diverse individuals are able to participate fully in the decision-making process with an organization or a group. You can have a diverse team or talent, but that doesn't mean that everyone feels welcome, valued, or is given the opportunity to grow. Inclusion is not a natural consequence of diversity. Equality is not equity. Equality is defined as the state of being equal, the right of different groups of people to receive the same treatment. Equality aims to promote fairness, but it can only work if everyone starts from the same place and needs the same level of help. We know that not everyone starts at the same place and not everyone has the same needs. Equity appears unfair, but it actively moves everyone closer to success by leveling the playing field. Equality is treating everyone the same. Equity is giving everyone what they need to be successful. Tokenism is not equity. Tokenism is defined as a practice of making only a perfunctory or symbolic effort to do a particular thing, especially by recruiting a small number of people from underrepresented groups in order to give the appearance of equality. Cultural competence is not equity. Cultural competence is defined as the ability to understand, communicate with, and effectively interact with people across cultures. Now let's explain some of the language from the prompt. People of color is used to describe any person who is not considered white. The term emphasizes all non-white people, emphasizing common experiences of systemic racism. The term may also be used with other collective categories of people such as communities of color and artists of color. CAC also uses the acronym ALANA, which stands for African and African American, Latinx, Asian, Asian American, Arab, Native American, Pacific Islander when speaking about communities of color. White advantage is the inherent and greater access to power and resources white people receive when compared to people of color. People defined as white are dramatically more likely to have benefits in terms of home ownership, access to quality education, and an inheritance based on previous generations' access to those privileges of whiteness. Almost no one, white or person of color, is individually asking to be privileged or oppressed. At the same time, understanding white advantage in the context of systemic racism and doing nothing about it constitutes colluding in exactly the way the system was set up to work. We define racial justice as a proactive reinforcement of policies, practices, attitudes, and actions that produce equitable power, access, opportunities, treatment, impact, and outcomes for all. It is not just the absence of discrimination and inequities, but also the presence of deliberate systems and supports to achieve and sustain racial equity through proactive and preventative measures. Now that we have reviewed and defined the racial equity commitment prompt, we want to take a minute to let you know what our expectations are in regards to your own racial equity commitment. We do not expect that your racial equity commitment will eliminate the impacts of racism. That is why we're asking you to be realistic about your commitment. Your commitment should be a reflection of where you are in your own equity journey as an organization. Your commitment can be simple and direct as long as it leads to your organizations becoming more equitable. It can also be small steps towards bigger actions and not an overhaul of your whole organization. Focusing on specific departments is okay as long as you indicate how this will impact all of your organization. Your commitment should also focus on equity and not diversity, inclusion, or access. With that said, diversity and inclusion can be used to help your organization become more equitable. Remember, if you get stuck or need help along the way, contact your program manager. We will ask that you rework your commitment if it doesn't meet the expectations. Here are a few examples of racial equity commitments to illustrate our expectations. Example 2 is inspired by Dunham Tavern's racial equity commitments, which they submitted as part of their 2020 GOS application. We encourage you to pause the video and take the time to read each example. Here are some tips to successfully create your racial equity commitment. Further your own understanding of equity, diversity, and inclusion by doing your own research and learning. Podcasts, articles, and videos are a great way to get started. See what we at CAC are reading at cacgrants.org/equity. Complete the Equity Commitment Statements worksheet and discussion questions. This worksheet will help your organization strengthen your racial equity commitment through self-reflection questions. Some of the questions on the worksheet are connected to our training with Race Forward. Feel free to modify them to your own experience. Review the 6 phases of racial equity practice and the continuum on becoming an anti-racist multicultural organization. Both of these documents will help your organization identify where they are in becoming a racial equitable organization and next steps to advance in their own equity journey. Keep the horizon in mind. Again, your commitment can be small steps to bigger actions. You should see the development of this commitment as the start of a journey for your organization. Clarify your goals and your focus. Make sure your commitment is focused on racial equity and not diversity, inclusion, or access. Be explicit and direct. Don't use coded language or filler words. Coded language is the use of words so as to include layers of meaning. The use of coded language allows the speaker to relate meaning without being specific. Some examples include urban, inner city, thug, and bossy. For additional information, please see the Medium article in our description box. Prepare your team. The commitment should be the work of the whole organization, including your leadership and board, and not just the work of one individual or one department. Meet with your program manager. We are here to help. We aren't experts, but we can share what we are doing to make our organization more equitable. We will be providing office hours to help you in developing your commitment. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Links to resources are located in the description box of this video. This concludes our video. Thank you for watching.